Welcome to TMI Today with Rita and Jen Lee. In this podcast, there is no such thing as too much information. We are diving into all of the taboo topics, from money and careers to relationships and parenting, to whatever else we've been too afraid to discuss as women. Listen in and join the movement as we raise each other up in our everyday lives.
Hi, Rita. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jen. Super excited to see you and be here today.
This is so much fun. So this is our first episode of TMI. And TMI, Rita, where did this come from? How did we come up with this?
Well, as I think about it, right, what does TMI stand for? Too much information. I'm going to say, when I was growing up as a little girl, I loved to talk a lot, and I learned about I liked fire hose information, and then I like to share it in the same way. But that's not what TMI is for. Actually, TMI is about information, because you know what? When you and I got together, we realized a lot of people don't know about life skills, right, Jen?
They don't, and they don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed to admit that they don't know about it. So we all float around in these spheres of unknowing because we're afraid to ask.
And I heard a really great quote from somebody. It's, you can only grow from what you know. So it's important to have these life skills so that we can all have this level platform where we are all coming into connection from. So because of that insight, we decided to make the name Today's Motivational Insights, so that we can have these casual, comfortable, connecting conversations with each other,
right?
Because we're always learning from one another, right?
We are. And it's really funny because Rita and I haven't known each other all that long, but as soon as we connected, it became this, oh my gosh, this is a really cool thing, that connection that we have. And so I think we really want to bring that to our audience of all of these different topics that are out there and how to connect with each other and how to make our lives better. So it's been an interesting progression.
About, what most people don't talk about. And really, I'm going to say we learn just as much as our listeners do. And we love feedback and sharing in a positive sense, right? Because this way it's motivational, right? And it's current to today. So Jenna, can you preview some of the topics? There's so many, like, you guys, we already have over 52 topics. We're ready for you for the year, and we're ready to hear more about what you want to hear about as well. We probably got them in our checklist, so just so you know.
Yeah. So it is a weekly show. We've started out, originally Rita and I talked about doing it every other week, and we got to 26 topics and we're like, well, we're not done yet. And so now we're at 52. So it'll be a weekly show on Tuesdays. And some of the topics we have, so a lot of the taboo topics out there are around money, relationships, how you deal with your children and parenting. So all those controversial topics that people don't want to talk about.
Maybe
and so
parenting your parents,
taking care of aging parents.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't talk. But all of these topics that come up, and etiquette, and how do you present yourself at a business function? How do you present yourself every day? Divorce. Relationships are a great thing, but there comes a time sometimes when you need to evaluate your options. And so we're talking about that sensitive topic of divorce.
That's so important. I think that's all really kind of a premise of what we're doing here. It's about relationships. And one of the things for relationship breakups, yes, divorce, but any relationship, is the communication.
Yes.
And that connection, because people are at different spaces or different levels, and how we can hold grace for ourselves as well as others when they don't know. And by the way, that does not mean that we are not triggered. Ask me about triggers. It's been interesting. Had an interesting weekend learning, I'm going to say, a lot about myself. But when we are triggered, how do we come back from that? So what other topics?
Right. Well, my favorite, near and dear to my heart, is talking about money, and Rita's too. So talking a lot about money and all these hangups we have with money, and how we do a lot of things in our lives, not irrationally, basically, because of how our upbringing was with money. So we have a ton of money topics. We have a crypto basics discussion because everyone talks about crypto
Yeah.
and no one knows what that actually means. And
That's why it's called crypto.
Crypto, yes.
Cryptic. Don't know, just saying. But we get to, do that little bitty bit of exploring so that we all can be empowered and we can all elevate together.
And using that information, that's the whole key of this, is how can you use this information to better your life? It doesn't have to be you have to go invest in crypto or you have to go,
Right.
manage your relationship different. It's just information that you could use to make your life better. Other topics
were questions we would ask ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The questions that we would ask ourselves, or maybe we would want to ask somebody else so that we can keep going. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, just the things that we're scared about asking. Like I said all the time, everyone, even using crypto as an example, because it's it's a hot topic, first of all, but it's also a very misunderstood, like people don't understand what it is. Yes. And so just having that basic layer of information, you don't have to invest in it, but knowing what it is really important for,
and if
understanding,
you'll know if it's something for you or not for you.
Yep, exactly.
Right, not everything that's a hot topic is for everybody.
Right. There are some things that are for everybody though. And we're going to talk about like estate planning and things that you need to have in your life set up so that your family and your children are taken care of when you're not here any longer. Things that you don't want to talk about because no one wants to talk about when they're not here any longer.
Right. And not waiting for a crisis, because that's one of the things. Money is a discussion to have now and not when you're in crisis. So this way we can all be prepared and calm. So it's kind of like we end up swaying with the wind instead of breaking with the wind,
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you're in crisis, trying to deal with things that could have been dealt with beforehand just makes the process so much harder. So
right.
Making life easy is a good thing.
Flow and ease in our lives.
Right.
We're drawing the line and having dramas end up dropping into our lives. And this way, once we know, we can bend, flex, dodge, whatever it is, move
whatever
around.
We need to do.
Whatever we need to do.
And how about boundaries? Rita, are we going to talk about boundaries?
We are going to talk about boundaries, right? You know what? That's one thing I last week, because a lot of things started changing and shifting in my life. And all of a sudden, a lot of drama was dropping in. And so I said, my new boundary is, if I start to feel, oh my God, this is drama is my boundary.
Yep. It's a great boundary to have.
It might sound obvious, but a lot of times, and I think women do this a lot, right? We like, oh, how can I fix it? How can I do this? And instead, before we know it, we're sucked into the whole thing. And we can only control us, and we can't control others. So we get to figure out where the drama boundary line is. So boundaries is going to be a fun one to talk about.
I'm looking forward to that one. And we also have a great topic on self-advocacy, how to advocate for yourself. And so I'm trying to make sure that people are confident in how they portray themselves. And there's a lot of imposter syndrome out there these days, which is another topic we're talking about. So.
And I think I remember correctly, we're also going to have self-advocacy. When I think about it, for me, that's absolutely in conjunction with leadership.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure we have a leadership talk down the line as well. So
we have all kinds of talks. It's so much fun.
Fun talks.
And if there's something that you think, if you're listening to this first episode, and you think there's something that you want to hear about, definitely let us know. On our website, we'll have a form for submissions. Let us know, because we are very open to discussing most things.
Yes.
TMI, but yes.
Yes, at TMI, it's all about today's motivational insights, right? And we're going to be bringing experts in. So it's not just going to be you and I, Jen, right? So you're going to get to hear from people that are in the know.
Yeah, Rita and I are great experts at our particular fields, but we also know that we have a lot to learn from others as well. And so we have a ton of guests coming in to talk about all kinds of fun things. And then you'll also hear our stories as well throughout this whole process. And we'll talk about fun things like tax strategies, because who doesn't want to talk about taxes? Right?
Well, and I look at it like this. So it's all about perspective. And I seem to have a unique one when it comes to these. And actually, it's getting more and more common. And I do hear people say, man, I love the way you shift it. So my shift for that tax strategy, I literally visualize, oh, that means I'm not going to be handing cash to my not so favorite uncle that we are all related to here in America.
Yep.
So it gets to be in his pocket or mine. I'd rather know the strategies to keep it in my pocket, because that means if I am keeping my money, it's more for me. If I'm saving it, it's like earning it, right? Because
Yes.
who wants to? Do we all remember our first paychecks? And the
Yes,
shock,
I do. The shock.
and the shock. And no matter how many times you are told, like I remember telling each of my kids, by the way, when you get your first paycheck,
Mhm.
it's not going to be the whole amount you think,
Mhm.
right? And so deaf ears, they get it. They come home. I got my first paycheck. Open it up. What? What's going on? Who's FICA? Who's this? Like
Where
I
where'd my
told
money
you,
go? Yes.
So we get to learn about strategies in our lives so that we can have more.
And a lot of it's misunderstood. And so I find a lot of people are not informed when it comes to taxes. And so
Mm,
mistakes are made. And so part of
right.
this idea is to make sure that you can either recover from those mistakes or avoid them and be informed so that you can make confident decisions with your money going forward.
It's all about building that confidence.
It is. It really is about the more you know, the more confident you are in your decisions. And I find that
And then you make smarter decisions.
you make
with
smarter.
ease. It just gets to be,
Yep.
That's why one of the things is that when I started taking wealth courses and doing my research for 12 years of different
Mhm.
wealth building and multimillionaires and billionaires, and it's really about building that confidence and then making decisions. And I'm going to just like a little sidestep.
Uh,
So for me, I get these visions of like how things look, right? So when I don't know all of you all if you've seen this I Love Lucy episode where Fred, Ethel, Ricky, and Lucy go to a restaurant to order food, right? And so
mhm.
they start with Lucy and they're like, oh my God, we're going to be here for hours because she can't make a decision just over a simple meal. And she's like, no, 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 no. I'm going to be a great decision maker. And she literally is like, I'm having steak. That's it. Next. And so Ricky orders whatever he's ordering. She hears it and she's like, oh my God, that's so amazing. I'm changing my order. And so on and so forth. And then they get back to her and she goes back to the steak and egg. So that may seem kind of silly, but the reality, all wealth building people start to make decisions easy and fast and stick to them with confidence
Yep.
because they now know. And it starts with the small things. So how you do the small things is how you do the big things. And I'm going to be honest, when I learned that practice years ago, I literally had to do it with food and a menu as well. I was just like her. And now when I look at a menu, really simply, whichever one, like you start to read it, and your body, you do have a reaction. I either go, oh, that sounds good, or I do this, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I do that, I'm done.
Yep.
And you pick it and you go on. Otherwise, because I love everything and I love all food, I could be there. And if you go to like Cheesecake Factory,
Well, yeah, where it's pages and pages of menu, right? Like I can't even get through this.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So making decisions, we'll talk about menus, we'll talk about food, all kinds of fun stuff. Some heavier topics we have on our list too. We're also talking about human trafficking, and that affects a lot of our everyday that we don't realize. And so the human trafficking aspect, we have a great expert on human trafficking. Another one that came up for me yesterday because I was looking through our list of topics, and it was student loans, which are huge in the news right now, is student loans and parenting, and how do we maneuver through getting our kids to get an education, but not going into debt for the
And I'm
rest
going
of
to
our
say,
lives to
they
do
don't have
that.
to wait for the episode. If they need resources, please let us know.
Yep.
Message us, DM us, whatever it takes as you follow us, so that this way we have these support systems and specialists for these areas of your life, so you don't have to do it alone. And this is the whole thing. It's about the community here at TMI.
It is. And it's all about not being embarrassed about what you have going on. So whenever someone asks me for a resource, and like Rita said, reach out to us and ask us for resources, because even if we haven't talked about it, we probably have someone in our old school Rolodex here that will help with a problem. But I find so often people are so scared to make that first step because they're worried about what we'll think. There's no judgment here on TMI. Whatever you have going on, first of all, we've probably seen it before. You're not alone.
For sure.
And second, if you don't ask for it, you're going to keep swirling down this despair trail sometimes, what I call the circle of despair, and
Yeah.
not to be judged. We're not judgmental about it. So that's a
No,
really good point of,
it's so important because literally we can help leverage what's going on in your life to make it better for you. And
Yep.
just the other week, I had a client who didn't quite tell me everything because they didn't need to. And certain stopgaps happened and I couldn't figure out why. And so when we had a conversation, she had to share something just so very personal that she was feeling a lot of shame, blame, and guilt around. And as she was sharing, I was like, oh my God, this is great now that we know. And she was like, I'm glad that you think that's great. I'm like, yeah, because now it's done and in the past, and you don't even have to think about it anymore because we're able to fix it like this. And it was so simple. Sometimes we hold on to it and it's
yes.
this big giant boulder that you're carrying.
Mhm.
And then when you pass it off, for you, it was a big giant boulder. For me, it's a styrofoam boulder.
Yeah,
It weighs
it's really easy to deal
nothing.
with. Yep.
And I got to be able to deal with it. And the freedom that comes from that, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And we
And
want
that
everybody to
and
experience
that boulder to that person was affecting every decision they made because they were fixating on it. And
it.
so
Exactly.
it's really hard to make good decisions when you're fixating on something that could easily be fixed by someone who deals with that all the time.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what
Whew.
else are we talking about, Rita?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm excited about the etiquette one because honestly, etiquette affects every aspect of our lives, right? And I'm trying to think who else. You got so many, we got like so many things covered,
Uh,
you know, and even
we're tr-
starting, how do we fix things for the next generation, like the kids?
yeah.
So if we don't know, so sometimes I'm going to say, like with my money topics, a lot of people say the schools should teach us. And I'm like, okay, agreed. However, they have their own business model, right?
Right.
I have a question for you. How many centuries do you want to wait for them to do this? Because
Right.
that's probably what it's going to take. So we need to we get to shift. And that's a
Yep.
good thing
It
because we
is.
don't want some other agency controlling the way we learn about things that are very personal to us. And guess what? School starts in the home. So we're going to have conversations around what that looks like because
Mhm.
some of us say, well, our parents didn't teach us. Well, they were probably never taught. So
Right.
how can we hold
And
them accountable for that?
keeping in mind that if the reason why you want the schools to do it is so you don't have to talk about it with your kids, that's often what I see is, well, I don't want to share, I don't want to talk about money with my kids. I don't talk about it with my spouse even. We have that topic too. Like, how do we talk with our spouse about
Mhm.
finances? But
Right.
if you don't talk about it with your kids, then you're setting them up for failure by not
That's
teaching them
why we
something.
all have
Yeah.
that. Everybody will talk the birds and the bees, right?
Yeah.
I'll just say it, sex, politics, and religion, but yet
Yeah.
we're not talking about money.
Mhm.
Why? So this way we could destroy the myths and any misconceptions that are out there and really just break through them and then they're done and gone. And that just it's kind of like breaking a dam or and the water just all starts flowing. And financial abuse and things like
Mhm.
financial infidelity,
Yes, it's a
right? I
really
didn't even know what that was. FYI, I share very authentically, genuinely. I
yes.
was guilty of it and didn't know it and couldn't fix it till I was made aware. And so I
Mhm.
talk about what that looks like and where it stemmed from, why,
Yep.
right? Some of us, we have had life issues, all of us. I've
Mhm.
had cancer and come back. How do we come back? We get to
Yep.
talk about what's the nice girl syndrome. Well, what do we think nice girl syndromes? Because, a lot of us think nice girls don't get rich or don't get ahead. I'm here
Mhm.
to tell you I believe I'm a nice girl. I don't know,
Yeah.
Jen, I think you're a nice girl.
I
And I
try,
think
yeah.
that we all get to get ahead, and we get to be these amazing Wonder Women in the world.
Mhm.
We, you know what, really, that right now, we are the game changers. This generation of women,
Mhm.
who is it? Was it Gandhi that said the Western woman is going to change the world?
Mhm.
And we are doing it massively. And
Yes.
our conversations support this. And by the way, and we get to do it more simply. Life gets to come back to the simplicity of
Yes.
things.
Not super
It's like
complicated.
not super, that's why it's insights, right?
Yep.
It's kind of, as I'm thinking about it, our TMI, the too much information, is really a transformation to today's motivational insights to create that flow of overwhelm
Right.
to ease
To
in
bridge it
each
to, yep.
day, to bridge it.
Yep.
So it just gets to be better and better. And we are definitely looking forward to having you grow and learn with us as we share
Definitely.
authentically and bring you our best guests, and support you at however we can in the arenas that you share with us.
And we have a very interesting model here. Once an episode is launched on Tuesdays, we are going to have a live clubhouse room on Fridays that same week to talk about whatever the topic is of the week. And you can step up to the stage and talk if you want to share. You could listen to others sharing. So it's a fun way to interact with it's not recorded. No, Clubhouse is all live, no recording. Ask questions, share your story, that kind of thing. So it's even bringing it closer to you and closer to us so that we can really create a community around what we're sharing and doing. So I'm really excited for that. I love Clubhouse.
I am too, because you know what? Yes, we're doing the show and you can message us and participate in
Right.
it, and get to us, but using your voice is a whole nother thing.
Mhm.
It takes it to a whole nother level. And we really are here to make this as holistic, and I'm going to say healing in a way, because when we have these
Yep.
conversations and let go, just like you said, Jen, your focus shifts, and it shifts in the right ways. And a lot of times I like to put it this way: collateral goodness comes out of it.
Mhm.
And it's almost like, being a new grandma right now, it's like that new baby being born, and everything shifts because it's pure love, it's innocent, and that ends up connecting with our hearts to
Mhm.
transform us. And as we transform others around us, that energy, that current that goes out,
Yep.
shifts everybody and everything in your life.
It's like a new beginning.
It's
Yep.
a new beginning.
Yep.
So we're so excited to have you here.
We are excited. So let's wrap up this first episode of TMI with today's motivational insights. I think you're going to love our guests. You're going to love our topics. We have some fun in all of our episodes, and we are looking forward to our next week's episode with you.
All right. Until then, ciao for now.